Hi, I'm Bart Hanson. I'm the owner and operator of CrushLivePoker.com. The following hand comes from our call-in show that we record at 4:45 p.m. Pacific Time every Monday. If you want to call in your hand, check out the phone number in the description.
So actually, this hand actually that we're going to talk about is similar. Like, do we go for ultra thin value in this spot in multi-way on a pretty dynamic board? So I'll get right into it if you're
Okay,
ready.
sure, go for it. Yeah.
So I'm playing a 2-5 500 cap game. It is the two villains are 500 effective. I cover both.
Okay.
The flow of this game is like super weak passive. Like all the players are middle-aged or older, rec players, pretty loose passive for the most part. I do have a relatively tight player, although I've seen him spaz right before I sat down. But everybody's kind of said he's like, he's pretty. When he does a polarizing bet, it's always kind of a nut or a perceived nut hand. Anyways, he opens in the low jack, the late position. He opens to 25. This is the amount is very relevant because I'm sure, as you've noticed, that these levels, like especially the rec players, like their pre-flop open varies according to the strength of their hand, which makes it super easy to play against them. So he opens to 25. So I'm putting him on a pretty premium hand here. He would open a 15 with weaker holdings and 20 with marginal, and anything above 25 is fairly strong. He's in a low jack. A small blind is a old white guy who loves seeing flops. He calls rather quickly, and I'm in the big blind. And I look down at King of Diamonds, 10 of clubs. I'm not thinking this is a candidate to pre-flop, but certainly to defend, especially because I can. These guys are pretty easy to play post-flop for the most part.
So you call King 10 in the big
I
blind.
call.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we've got a pot of 75.
Yep.
The flop is King of Spades, Queen of Diamonds, 10 of Spades.
Okay, so you have bottom two. Low jack.
I have top bottom.
Oh, excuse me, top and bottom. Sorry. So low jack opens to 25. Small blind calls. You call with King 10 offsuit in the big blind. Flop comes out King of Spades, Queen of Diamonds, 10 of Spades. Front door spade draw. You've got top and bottom. Okay.
Yep. The small blind donk leads out of flow, $40 into 70.
Let me stop you right there because I just want to ask you a question real quick. Because you said that the low jack opened to 25, but that's still a 5x raise. If the small blind had checked to you, what would you have done? Would you have just sort of naturally checked it over to the low jack?
I think most of the time I'm going to naturally check that to the pre-flop raiser most of the time.
Uh-huh.
I think part of the time I will go ahead and lead to start getting chips in.
Because I think it does. I think it depends on configuration. When you flop two pair, how multi-way it is. Like I'm more apt to lead multi-way with a two pair type of hand when I don't think the pre-flop raiser is going to bet with any air. Obviously, the pre-flop raiser still like has a lot of ace jacks here, like all the ace jacks, right? All the king queens, pocket kings, pocket queens. So yeah, I probably wouldn't lead with top and bottom against a low jack raiser. It's interesting that the small blind leads for 40. What's the deal with the small blind?
His blocker type bets are smaller than that. I mean, it's a little over half pot, but if he's betting like a third pot, he's got some kind of draw. This looks to me like a pair and a draw type of hand, right? A little bit stronger than just a naked draw of some sort,
Okay. I would probably still just call. I mean, you've got the pre-flop raiser behind you. You don't want him to make any hero folds with like ace king or aces or something like that. I think a standard play here is to call.
Right, and that's what I did. I didn't think there was anything to do but call and assess the turn. So I did call, and the low jack kind of gives a befuddled look and kind of shrugs and calls as well.
Okay.
So we have 195, and we go to the turn. King of Spades, Queen of Diamonds, 10 of Spades, and the turn is a 4 of Spades.
So it completes the front door flush, right?
Correct.
But you don't have a spade in your hand.
No spades.
Okay.
Okay?
Yep.
Small blind now leads again for 60 this time. So it's now I'm feeling like that's a much weaker sizing.
So he bet 60.
Based on the so less than third pot.
Okay. I mean, I think you still continue on here. If he had come out and bet like 150 or something like that, I might just give it up, especially with the guy behind you. It's just sort of peculiar that he continues to bet, and I wonder if he has a hand like he had like top pair or middle pair and the jack of spades in his hand. You know what I'm saying? Like the bet on the flop sort of looks like a lot of pair plus jack, and now the spade comes. I wonder if he's got like pair plus jack of spades or queen jack with the queen of spades. And that's sort of my gut, which of course you're ahead of, but I still think raising here is an overplay because there are some other hands that he could have that have you beat, and you still have to worry about the guy behind you too. So I would call again.
Yeah, yeah, and you're right. I'm pretty solidly thinking that he's holding a jack and a pair. Yeah, like a king jack type hand offsuit, obviously based on the board texture. So I do. I think for a little bit, and I go ahead and call, and the low jack also calls rather quickly.
Okay, so I mean the low jack should really have a high spade in his hand if he's going to overcall here on the turn, or he was sandbagging something on the flop, like a set, and now he's concerned. But of course, you block a fair amount of the sets. You know what I'm saying? And also too, like a lot of those guys will just raise off pocket queens, something like that on the flop. But so low jack calls too, and now all of a sudden we've got a huge pot here, right? Like the pot is what, 475, something like that, and everybody's got what, like 350-ish left.
Yeah, it's 375 now. It's 375 after the turn action.
375, and everyone's got about 350-ish left, right?
Yeah. Okay. So the river brings a 7 of clubs, so it doesn't really change anything.
Yep.
The small blind quickly checks, like insta checks, and then I'm kind of in a spot now where I think for a little bit, like. And that's where my question comes in. Do we go for super thin value here with a plan to fold to a raise, or do we sort of check it through? I mean, I came up with 2 hands that might call that I'm ahead of, and many more that beat me. And I think at this level, guys will get scared with a small flush. Guys will get scared with a non-nut straight. And check and go to that check call mode, So that's kind of where I was stuck.
Yeah, I think it's pretty close. I mean, when you had to email me this one, I had glanced at it briefly, and I at first I thought it was a slam dunk value bet, but I didn't realize that the low jack overcalled on the turn. So I can sort of get on board with what you're saying, that if the small blind's hand could be a straight here, it could be jack 9, and he's sort of scared on the turn to put more money in, so he sort of kind of blocks it. And now he checks the river, and we don't exactly know what the low jack has, so I can go either way with this. I mean, I would say that if it was heads up, let's say that the low jack had folded the turn, right?
Yeah.
If the low jack had folded the turn, I think this is a bet on the river. With the low jack still in there and you betting, man, you look really strong. And again, I think to your take, like, what are you getting called by here? Like king jack, queen jack, you just look very, very strong if you bet into 2 people. So I can sort of get on board with sort of checking it through here. And it would be very strange if the low jack bet. Put it that way. Like, I would expect if you check, it's going to check it through. And then the question then just becomes, do you have the better hand against this particular player here from the small blind? I mean, I do like to go super thin for value in this spot, but I can get behind a check here. Call me crazy, but I can get behind a check here.
Yeah, I mean, I think, and I kind of like in the moment thought, yes, like if the low jack's not in the hand, I can bet here, and he's, and expect to get called by value owning myself a little bit here. I mean, I just thought small flushes, non-nut straight, even potentially non-spade, nut straight, king, queen, like all kinds of hands are beating me here. So I decided to go ahead and check. Yes, I did, and the low jack did in fact open up a red offsuit ace king.
Yep. Okay.
And the small blind kind of he didn't really want to open, so I went ahead and opened, and I was good there. So
yeah, I mean I guess the other thing too is that can you get value from the low jack with what he turns over? So in this particular case, if you had bet the river after calling the turn, is this guy going to call with ace king? I mean, it's a horrible call, right? Like, if you put yourself in the low jack spot and you overcall twice, like, okay, maybe you overcall the turn because you're getting such a good price, right? And he's got a gut shot to a jack. And now all of a sudden on the river, you bet the river after calling flop and turn. Ace king's never going to be good there. But people play really poorly at the low levels, right? So I wonder if you had come out and bet like 175 if you would have gotten called by ace king. Like I said, I like to go super thin in these spots. I have been value owning myself quite a bit, but I think that this one's close, and I like I said, I can get on board with what you're thinking, which is this guy is leading out and he's scared of the flush, but that doesn't mean that he still doesn't have hands that are stronger than yours just because he doesn't have a flush, right? We've got 32 combos of straights and also better two pairs, right? King, queen.
Yep.
I don't know if he's going to check a small flush, but I mean, that would be an extreme situation, you know?
Yeah, I think the small blind might check a small flush, but yeah. I mean, I think I could have gotten value from it. You know, ace king if I bet correctly, like maybe even last like 1/3 pot, like 125 or something.
Yeah.
And I think I can get looked up by all the queen tens and beat those. But yeah, I mean, I just in the moment I thought, you know, there's like 32 combos of hands I can beat, and then many more that I can't that are going to just check call or just call. You know, so.
But I think this hand demonstrates because I think we'll definitely put this one up on YouTube because I like it at some point. But I think this hand demonstrates, and I see a lot of people in the YouTube chats, like when we illustrate these hands after the fact, they'll be like, "Why would you bet? You have showdown value." Like that's a tournament mentality. Like it goes to show you like the opposite, the differences between tournaments and cash games. Cash games we're betting because we want to get extra money because we have the best hand. We don't care about winning the pot. Like the pot itself doesn't. I mean, yeah, it's money, but it's like. In a tournament, people are always so concerned that if it's close, well, I'm not going to open the betting up because I might get blown off my hand. I need to win the pot. And in a tournament, if you win the pot, you have more of an advantage, right? Because you have more chips. In a cash game, it's irrelevant. You need to make the best decision for the money, the plus EV, right? So that's why we're constantly thinking about getting thin value in a cash game, and that's some of the difference between a cash game and a tournament. I like the hand, Dave. Thanks for the call. I appreciate it.
No worries. Have a good one.
All right. Hey guys, if you like what you've seen here, please click on the subscribe button and you'll get notified every time we put up a new video. And if you want to check out crushlivepoker.com for the first month free, use the code YTA200. Click on the link right there.